Hello, hi, I'm Punita here from Huawei Global Training Center, and today we're going to discuss about the topic eNodeB Transport Data Part 5. So let's look into EUTRAN Transport Protocol Stack. So both S1 and X2 interface have the user plane and control plane. So control plane is for signaling and user plane is for service. The protocol stack for X2 interface is the same as S1. So we have the physical layer, which is layer 1, data link layer, which is layer 2, and the remaining part will be layer 3. So layer 3 is related to network layer. So network layer will be divided into TNL, transport network layer, and radio network layer. So this is mainly dedicated for signaling, and S1 user plane is mainly dedicated for services. So basically when we configure, we will start with physical layer, data link layer, control plane, and user plane. So this is the steps for the configuration. And for the user plane also, we have layer 1, layer 2, and the remaining part will be layer 3. So we have IP, UDP. So this one is more suitable for TCP. GTPU will be related to GPRS services, and user plane PDU is related to the packet data unit, your QCI. So your QCI will be controlled over here. So let's look into the procedures to configure eNodeB transport data. So when we start, we will add an ETH port. Then we add a device IP and IP route. So this one is actually adding the logical IPs. And the routes is actually referring to layer 3. Configure the VLAN to suppress the broadcast storm. And configure the application data. So let's look into IP configuration command, old model. Because we have new model and old model. So some operators, they will prefer old model. Some operators will already move to new model. Some will have a mixed mode. So let's look into the difference. So let's start with physical layer, layer 1. So we have to add ETH port, then followed by data link layer, which is more related to your QoS. So add the VLAN map and set the DSCP map. And layer 3 for the network layer, we have to add device IP for the logical IP. And this logical IP we need to add for signaling. It will be a signaling IP, CP, UP. We also have for OM channel and for clock system. And we have to add the route to this destination. So basically control plane will go to MME, user plane will go to S gateway, OM channel will go to MAE. So let's look into the command. So the first command is add ETH port. So this is more towards the UMPT card settings. So we have the slot number, port attribute can be copper or fiber, speed and duplex support type. So basically these are the information that we have to fill up, and they have some additional explanation about the speed here. Ethernet port must be consistent with the interconnected port, and why it is auto, because the system will bind the Ethernet port to the electrical port during the startup. So let's look into this command, add ETH port. So we're going to see what we have in the list ETH port. So this one is list ETH port. So basically we have configured with the support type, like example here is Ethernet port cover port number, port ID, and the port attribute is fiber, duplex and speed. So they are using 100 meg and full duplex because it's a Ethernet cover board. So Ethernet cover board, most likely it will have a backup. It's a backup board. Alright, so this is the first one. The second type is baseboard, and this one is copper. So if using copper, speed and duplex will be automated. So that's the difference between the two different port level. So this one is actually in a different slot, and this is actually in a different slot. So we have two different types of port over here. So when you want to add the ETH port, so basically this is the command, but you might need to fill up some information. So we need to add the slot number and some other information if needed. So basically the red color parameter, which is already highlighted with the asterisk sign, is the mandatory parameter that needed to be filled up. So let's look into the second example. Add a device IP address. Maximum 8 device IP address can be configured in one Ethernet port or a port that carries Ethernet trunk. The port information must be added by add ETH port. So this one must be pre-added already. What port number you're using. So and you need to define the IP address to the port. So let's look into the device IP command. So this one is a old model command. So I'm going to list device IP to see what we have configured. So there are two device IP here. So port number 0, this is the IP address and manual mode. So there is no user label. So one should be for signaling and service. The other one should be automatically configured for the OM channel. So we have two logical IP here. So if you want to add device IP, so you may need to fill out the following parameters. Slot number, IP address and mask. All the red color ones are mandatory to be filled out. So next we move into the IP route. So we have to add a static IP route. Multiple routes can be configured on a base station. In the same routing domain, two IP routes that have the same destination and subnet mask cannot have the same routing priority. So let's see what information we need to fill up here. Destination IP, next hop IP, mask, slot number, and the route type will be next hop for the router. So let's look into the IP route command. So when we list the IP route, you'll be able to see routes. So there are three routes here, the destination IP and the next hop IP. So this is the gateway. So one goes to O&M, another one is serving gateway, another one is to MME. So we have three routes over here with the destination and the gateway IP. This is the gateway IP. This is the destination IP. So all belongs to the same UMPT card with a different root index. The root index must be unique. So let's look into the IPv4 configuration commands for new model. Earlier we looked into old model, now we move into new model. So new model is also divided into physical layer. So basically ETH port is the same. Data link layer, we have the VLAN map. So let's look into the VLAN map later. It's also the same, but there is a new one here, add interface. So this is to map the interface and the VLAN priority. So this is actually the new command. Network layer, we have add device IP replaced by add IP address. So this is also new. And instead of add IP route, we move to add IP route 4. So this is also new. So let's look into these commands. So we start with add ETH port. So this one we have seen. So there is no difference. So it's the same as the old model. Q&A session. The speed parameter specify the speed mode of the Ethernet port. This parameter must be set to the same value as of that of the peer port. Is it true or false? Yes or no? Yes, the statement is correct. So for this part, eNodeB transport data, we have learned about EU transport protocol stack, procedure of configuring eNodeB transport data, IP configuration commands old model. We have learned on how to add Ethernet port, how to add a device IP address, how to add a static IP route, what is IPv4 configuration commands about new model, and on the new model, we have learned about add Ethernet port. That's all from me. Thank you. Hope you enjoyed the session. Bye.